We're going to talk about being sealed with the Spirit that's from the Most High, being sealed with the Comforter. The Spirit that Christ said He would send to His disciples after He left. You know, Christ was the Comforter, and He told them He wouldn't leave them comfortless. He said He would send them another Comforter. Okay, and He promised that He would also redeem our bodies from this captivity, from this condition, from this corruption. And He gave us His Spirit as a down payment. And we're going to go into that a little bit. We're going to start at Acts, the 2nd chapter, and the 1st verse.
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place.
Okay, the day of Pentecost was when the disciples, when Christ told them to wait in Jerusalem till you be endowed with power from on high. And used to have the Feast of Pentecost in the Old Testament under Moses. That was a shadow of this day that took place right here when the disciples was together. So read that again.
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind.
So let you know that they was all with one accord. One accord is, what it says, unanimously. They were in agreement in the Spirit. So go ahead, it's verse 2.
And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting.
Now what we're going to find out in this chapter is that this day that happened with the disciples was prophesied years ago by the prophet Joel, and it's going to break it down in here. Go ahead.
And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them.
Go ahead.
And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance.
So this lets you know that when they were all gathered together, the Spirit rushed in, a mighty wind rushed into the room. Not a mighty man, a mighty wind. And he says, and they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So they started speaking languages as the Spirit spoke in them and empowered them to speak these. He says, as the Spirit gave them utterance. To enunciate plainly, that is, declare. So as the Spirit gave them these words, they spoke it. Go ahead.
And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Okay, so it lets you know at this time it was Jews gathered from all over the place because they came to Jerusalem for the Passover. Go ahead.
Now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language.
So these tongues that came down on the disciples was different languages, because it was different Jews or Israelites from different parts of the world, and they all heard the disciples speak in their own language where they came from. Read.
And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans?
So he's like, hold up, ain't they all from Galilee? Read.
Verse 8. And now hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein...
And how?
And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born?
So he says, if they're from Galilee, why are we hearing everybody in our own tongue where we were born? Now it goes to talk about where they came from. Go ahead.
Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia, and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia.
Go ahead.
What's that? Phrygia and Pamphylia and Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes.
Just
Cretes.
Jews and proselytes. and proselytes. Go ahead.
Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God.
So they heard the disciples, all these people from all these different places heard the disciples speaking in their own languages where they were from. And they knew that they were from Galilee. Go ahead.
And they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what meaneth this?
Like, what's going on? How is this taking place? What exactly is happening here? Because this was something that was new in the earth at this time. Go ahead.
Others mocking said, these men are full of new wine. But Peter standing up with...
So check it out. He said, others mocking, saying, these men are full of new wine. That sounds like our people will see a great work of the Spirit taking place in the earth, and then talking about, oh, they drunk. You know, they definitely high, because, you know, that was their explanation. Go ahead.
But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, ye men of Judea, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. So
he says, look, let me let y'all know what's going on here. So he's getting ready to explain to them what exactly is taking place. Go ahead.
For these are not drunken as ye suppose, seeing it is but the 3rd hour of the day.
So hold up. It was the 3rd hour of the day. It was early. You know, so he said, ain't nobody drunk. Ain't nobody been drinking. Go ahead.
But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days. Saying, all right,
hold up. Terrence, what precept you got right there where it says about the prophet Joel?
Joel 2. It's Joel 2.
Joel, the 2nd chapter? All right, so we're going to go back because he's quoting from Joel.
28.
Joel 2 and 28? Go ahead, start from 27.
And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your power, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old
so he said what? Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy.
Your old men.
So hold up now. That's a deep zone. So he said it's going to come a time where it's going to be men and women prophesying. You know, a lot of that's going to shake a lot of Israelite groups up right there. Read that again.
And your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Letting you know that the Most High is going to start dealing with his people through dreams and visions. Go ahead. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. So he's going to pour his spirit out on the men and the women. Go ahead. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. So that this lets you know that this spirit that's going to be poured out is going to happen before Christ returns, because we know that when the moon is turned into blood and the sun shall be turned into darkness, is going to happen when Christ returns, right before he returns. Go ahead. And the sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Go ahead. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as the Lord hath said, and in the remnant whom the Lord shall call. So this is letting you know that the Most High is going to pour his spirit out on a remnant of people in the last days before the coming of Christ. And this spirit is going to be the spirit that comes from the Father, that's going to leave from the throne sitting next to the Father and come down and be upon his people and speak through his people.